Let's do the intro.
Hi guys, and welcome to the Gin and Tonic Show. I'm your host Moose, and this is my producer Nick. Our main discussion is about Islam in the 21st century. However, we will critique other religions and ideologies. We condemn any form of discrimination, violence, misogyny, slavery. We do, however, embrace many perspectives and free speech if it is factual and correct, and not based on any hate. Throughout the show, we will be exploring different religious beliefs, practices, and their impact on society, ranging from politics, interpersonal relationships, and mental health of believers and non-believers. We hope to create an open dialogue for those who feel they're not heard, especially those who have doubts and have left their belief systems. If you are interested in exploring the complex topic of religion and wish to be part of an honest and open dialogue, this is the show for you. We also welcome feedback and discussion from our audience and listeners. The Gin and Tonic Show is a free speech platform where you can express your ideas without any fear of violence and repercussions or any consequences. Please do join our discussion in the live chat as well as the comments. Thank you for stopping by and enjoy the Gin and Tonic Show.
Welcome to the Gin and Tonic Show. Today we are not joined by Nick, but we are joined by Drastic Measures.
Hey, good evening.
Good evening, Drastic. By the way, guys, Drastic Measures is going live tomorrow, I think 5 p.m. UK time. So if you want to check out his channel. I'll provide a link to his channel. 1 second, let me just give a link in the chat. See, and do check out the live stream tomorrow at 5 p.m. UK time. If it's Standard Eastern time would be 12 p.m. in the afternoon. So I may or may not be there, but definitely if anybody can go, just go to Drastic's channel tomorrow.
Yeah, we'll be talking about Sharia and human rights. So it should be a
it should be
an interesting show.
Yeah, it should be a fun topic.
Yeah, always light-hearted, that one.
Yeah, a light-hearted. Sure, Drastic. Sure, light-hearted. It gets into the dark side of humanity. Oh man. So, by the way, I just got back from a trip from Iraq and Pakistan. So 2 Muslim countries. Hence, I've been away for a while. And yeah, Drastic and I were we were in touch over Discord. Just it's just and Nick as well. Just I was just kind of laying low for a while, and lots happened when I left. Like when I left the Western world, lots had happened. And I think Drastic, you were telling me about the riots that happened in France.
Oh yeah, there's been all sorts of things. I mean, just to say, it's nice to have you back and in one piece and alive, Moose, because obviously we know as an ex-Muslim, well. I mean, it is a real risk in certain Muslim countries. So we're glad to have you back. But yeah, it's been 5 weeks or more since you've been away, and yeah, there's been a lot going on. We've had the riots in France after that teenager was killed by the policeman. Yeah, we've had the book burning in Sweden. We've had Ali Dawah losing his marbles over scientific miracles. It's been they say a week's a long time in politics. Well, 5 weeks is an eternity in Islam. So there's a lot to talk about tonight.
Yeah, and then there's a lot to talk about. And yes, Ginny, it wasn't a stop. It actually was a full-on trip. And I did visit the Shia Muslim sites, that is. And there are some like graves of like the imams, that is. You also have like the graves of like the Quranic prophets such as Hud and Saleh. And I think I was not able to go to the tomb of Jonah because I was able to see the tomb of Job though on the way, or Prophet Ayub, as Muslims call him. So I was able to see some interesting sites. I saw the Tigris River, the Euphrates. I was even in Alexandria, or Al-Sikandria as they call it today, in the Babylon province. So it was Basra and Kufa. Yes, I was there. It was very hot. I have a farmer's tan right now, and it's not it's not a great place to go in the summer. I just realized. So, so yeah, that's that was my trip, and also of course I had a wedding to attend in Pakistan as well. So yeah, it was and I.
Oh wow! Congratulations, you got married. Well done, Moose.
No, not me. I
hope it wasn't arranged.
No, not me. I do not wish to get married over there. No way, Jose. I'm sorry, whoever's name is Jose, I apologize. But yeah, it was, what do you call it? It was an interesting trip so far. I will describe it in like a future video if you guys have any questions about it. Like, I'm actually gonna, let me see, I can actually invite you guys too. So like, the more the merrier, because I'm just gonna, if you want to come to this stream, be my guest. I'm just gonna post it here. Right here.
Well, just thinking, you mentioning Iraq, it kind of ties in with the whole Sweden Quran burning thing, because wasn't the embassy in Baghdad, I think, got attacked? The Swedish embassy. Am I thinking the right country?
Yeah. Hang on, Swedish.
I think it was just in the last day or two. It was set on fire. I think.
I think it was yes, Iraq actually. And it was just yesterday, Iraq Swedish ambassador over the planned burning. Let me just actually share the screen for the. Hello, Ginny. Drastic. Can you start boiling the holy water, please? Because he's gonna go like devil's advocate. So we need some holy water prepared.
It's fine. Look, if it was my channel, obviously I would already be prepared. But it's your house, Moose. So Hey, Culture
all
Jimmy.
right.
Hello. Yes, they did burn down the Swedish embassy in Iraq, and they recalled the ambassador as well, and threatened to close every Swedish business in Iraq and do a national embargo. They didn't realize that our actual aid is greater to them than our total trade.
Yeah, if anything,
so it sounds like an empty threat then.
Yeah, it might backfire, because this might backfire on because Iraq was, like, economically speaking,
they actually took it back, and from what I heard, they actually excused it unofficially, and took it back, kind of discreetly.
Well, there's been reverberations for this Quran burning in Sweden now. It seems in a lot of places, but I don't know. Is that a good place to start in terms of what we think about what's gone on? Moose, do you want to get into that first?
I'm just gonna see, like, the government stated that it had. So the Swedish ambassador was, expelled from, and he had to go back. and in June had applied for a received permission. So the Iraqi government condemned this burning of the Swedish embassy, according to a statement from the office of the Iraqi Prime Minister, Mohammed Shia al-Sudani, which called it a security breach and vowed to protect diplomatic missions. And the thing is, there are for Iraq, there was a lot of security, at least from when I was there. Like you had checkposts after checkposts, like even the Iraqi army is like patting you down with bomb detectors.
Yeah, but there was a very large crowd that stormed the embassy during
I think they were not able to control the crowd. So like the police and the military, you can't shoot civilians. So you were like shit. So it was, it was such a pretty much a shit show at that point. Oh, of course, Shia cleric Muqtada al-Sadr. He definitely he's quite popular there. He's practically
he's quite known.
Yeah, and I saw Muqtada al-Sadr's pictures everywhere. Like wherever I went, I saw this man's picture, and I'm definitely sure it's one of those things where, when Saddam Hussein had his pictures everywhere, when Bashar al-Assad had his pictures everywhere, it's a sign of a dictatorship almost, where you kind of keep those pictures.
Though I do suspect that this entire thing has actually points towards the opposite of an complete. I mean, he doesn't control the entirety of Iraq, and this entire thing that he is whipping up right now is in order to get more support for future political bids.
Oh, absolutely. He does want to position himself as a kingmaker. And he has had a history of even collisions with the United States, that is. Like, there was a stand in Najaf, and that cost a lot of lives. Like, that was a big blow to him. And I think he had to go to Iran, I believe. And, he was wanted as the most dangerous man in Iraq for a while. Yes, go ahead.
Moose. I was just going to ask you, what did you think in terms of the actual Quran burning incident itself in Sweden? I mean, do you? I mean, from my point of view, obviously, I think he should have the freedom to do it, but I am a little bit ambivalent in terms of it does seem quite provocative to be doing it outside of a mosque. At Eid.
It isn't even that. Now they have demanded to do it continuously for weeks. And I'm thinking it's stepping over certain lines. Yeah. I think it's going from, a free speech issue to becoming harassment.
Yeah.
Some of the copying of him also have once again taken this very, xenophobic and even hateful and intimidating aspects when you also get members of the former Nordic resistance movements, which are neo-Nazis, burning.
Really?
Yes.
Really? Oh my goodness! Because I know for a fact, like I'm indifferent to burning books, but at the same time, I don't personally like burning books.
I think it's barbaric and stupid.
Personally, I don't. Even if the book itself is barbaric, I'd rather not burn it because I want to preserve it as a form of history. Or at least as a form of, how far we've come. Like I was discussing with Drastic.
You shouldn't also burn books struggle. Because I think when you begin to burn books, it's also, one step to begin to burn actual people.
Yeah, and I'm never a huge fan of whether it's the Bible or the Quran or like even the Sikh Quran. Nothing. I don't personally like that. I would be indifferent to it if someone did it, but if anything, like if it's definitely looking like, well, from what you guys have told me, it's definitely looking like they're trying to toe the line. Like they're trying to
the first guy that did it was an Iraqi citizen that has moved to Sweden. I've heard that he was a communist or something, if I'm not entirely...
He could be, definitely.
But anyway, that... is because I haven't looked that deep into it, but I could just say that the issue here is like I do think you should have the right to like once or twice during the same occasion maybe burn a holy book, even outside of a mosque or something. No, listen to me. I don't think it's good. I think it's very bad to do this.
Yeah,
And I think it's a
like
very bad behavior. But
yeah.
I still think you should have the right to do stupid expressions, but you shouldn't be allowed to do it repeatedly.
Oh,
Because
for
Yeah,
then
sure.
that
Like,
it does
yeah,
seem like a form of intimidation at that point, and
and it's also then when you begin to join in with these other copycats that also are marching in uniforms and doing, eh,
and you also kind of give fire to like a lot of extremist groups, like anti-Muslim groups, or just happen to be anti-Muslim, not for the sake of like being critical of the religion, but just hateful in general,
yeah,
basically.
they are just xenophobes. And that
well, I mean,
Yeah. So
that is less of an issue that people express xenophobia. It's more of an issue that I think it's going over from being a protest thing to actually being a sort of harassment.
yeah.
And
I mean,
yeah, Drastic, you were saying?
I,
Yeah,
well, I was just
Drastic.
going to say, I think intentions do kind of matter in why you're doing it. I mean, I agree with you guys. Obviously, just on principle, it's not something I would do. I agree. I think it's reminiscent of kind of Nazi Germany burning books when they first came to power. So, I mean, that's not a good look. But you can look at somebody like Armin Navabi. I think I was talking about this with Culture Ginny before. Might have been. I think he did burn a Quran, and he was explicitly doing it for the reason of, look, I'm breaking this taboo, this sense of Muslims have special rights not to be offended kind of thing. And I think as much as it's not something I would do, I understand where he's coming from. And I can also understand,
Yes.
and I'm sure there are people in Sweden who burned Qurans with something like that in mind. But yeah, if you are basically doing it as a way to try and intimidate a community, which I think at some point you could argue it might have crossed that line, then yeah, that's
either intimidate or harass, because I
or
don't think
harassment.
this Iraqi dude is probably not doing it to intimidate, like for example the neo-Nazis that have copied it, but rather he probably is doing it as a protest. But I think it goes over a certain line when you say that, oh, I want to protest every day by doing this act.
Yeah, and
Well, yeah, I mean, if somebody came outside my house every day I came outside my house and someone's like burning a book in front of it, yeah, after a while it would be like, just at a personal level, you should have a right not to come out of your house to like a burning book
yeah.
in the street. But
Oh, absolutely. And I think
so, yeah.
law and order should step in. Like the police should have the right to step in and take some action. And you should, at least I'm not sure what the legal take in Sweden is. I'm not sure what the laws are. But
It's
I do
okay to
know.
burn books, but as long as it's just that and it's not combined with real expressed opinions about the group of people.
Like you're not
So
promoting
it's
genocide or anything like that.
yeah, you can, for example, in Sweden, there's going out this rumor that you can't burn the Torah, but you can actually, and you can burn the Bible and any other holy text as well. But
Oh, by the way,
again,
sorry to interrupt. Just to say, Dude Abide said, didn't Armin tear some pages out? Maybe did both. Yeah, I could be wrong. If I've got that wrong about Armin Navabi, then I apologise. I thought he did burn a Quran, but it's possible I'm wrong on that. So if that's the
Or
case,
it could be a bit of both, or it could be, but we'll have to definitely verify and look into that. But yeah, I definitely see that. I know in Canada that if there's a certain threshold you can cross, like the authorities can step in, and your so-called, if you happen to endanger other people, then your freedom of expression can be limited. Like it can be limited. So it's called freedom of
directly
expression.
injure people, like calling for violence or calling for breaking of the law, or saying things that aren't true that cause panic and hurt people directly. But I should say that people's reaction to your speech that caused issues and damages isn't enough to silence
Yeah.
someone.
Yes,
And it shouldn't be.
absolutely. And usually, sometimes it becomes like people's reaction kind of sometimes makes this the debate, when in reality it shouldn't. But that's why we're kind of like we need to like clarify a lot of these things, at least in the the international forum. But I did hear in Pakistan that there's these demands for like, oh, they should respect us in the UN. Like, what happened in the UN? Because I was in the midst of traveling, so I was hearing something. So was
Oh,
there
I think they
a
passed.
discussion in
They were. I think they were passing a resolution or something to condemn the Quran burning or something like that.
Yes.
But,
and was it successful though?
And also, I think Canada also tried to send something to Sweden condemning it as well.
Okay, so
which really is kind of annoying because I mean it's almost expected from certain Muslim majority countries they're going to react like that, but Canada really should be standing up for freedom of speech, I think, or at least if they're going to condemn it and say, look, yes, we think it's a stupid thing to do or it's barbaric or whatever, fine, but it should always come with a reinforcement of the idea that yes, we also believe in freedom of speech. I don't know how much the current Canadian government does, but yeah, as a fellow democratic country, I think they should really emphasize that as well.
They should. Keep in mind though, given the political scenario of Canada, I definitely, knowing Justin Trudeau and his government, and even most Canadian politicians, I think they want the Muslim vote, so they don't want to piss off like the Muslim community within their own country. That is. So I think they want to like paint this image of like, hey, we're the nice guy, we're like nice and all. But when it comes to like actually enforcing policies, they're a bit different. So it's a bit of a weird situation in Canada. It's kind of hypocritical.
I mean, it's lip service.
Yeah, lots of lip service in Canada. Like you. Especially towards like it also became even.
But I actually don't think we will change any laws. I'm actually kind of positive to it that we will not.
Yeah, hopefully there's no laws in Sweden
the reactions in both Turkey and in Iraq actually pissed off a lot of Swedish people.
Yes.
It is going to that level. Oh, Erdogan said that he would refuse our entrance into NATO, but then he backtracked.
Well, he got elected, didn't he? So I think during the election campaign, he was pushing the hardline rhetoric, but once he was elected, suddenly he's softened up again because I think he wants Turkey to join the EU again. So it's Turkey to join the EU. I think he's pushing for that bid. So
hang on. I actually found the article. 1 second. Let me show it to you guys. So, Anton, it's from our friend Al Jazeera that, what do you call it? Erdogan actually backs Turkey's bid to join NATO. So,
the Swedish bid.
Oh, yeah, it's just Sweden's bid. Turkey backed up Sweden's bid. So, yeah, my apologies for mixing up the words. Come on, share screen. Darn it. There we go. Where did you go? There we go.
I have to say, just while you're looking for that, I mean, as much as Al Jazeera has its agenda like everyone else, I don't actually think it's like the worst news agency. You can actually get some interesting information. I think it's good to get other perspectives, as long as you understand that they're going to be. They never say anything negative about Qatar because they're based there.
Because I remember they were kind of window dressing the workers issue, that is, like especially like the migrant worker issue.
Especially around the World Cup, they were just completely soft selling the whole thing, and
and then we're like, we actually pointed out that other news agencies were pointing it out. Actually, like certain journalists did point it out. So
but I mean, to be fair to Al Jazeera, every news agency is going to be beholden to their benefactors. So, CNN are not going to criticize the government on certain things. BBC is not going to criticize the government on certain things. No. Sorry, go ahead.
I will say that Al Jazeera and the English version is a lot less biased than the Arabic version.
I've heard,
but at least it's better than Al Alam, which is like Iran's Arabic propaganda.
Oh channel. Man, I have seen even Press TV, Iran's English propaganda machine. oh my goodness. Like, oh my goodness, all the bad news is coming from the States, but like all the good news you'll see is coming from Iran. And it is hell of annoying. Very annoying.
It does seem that again, a lot of people have taken advantage of this situation with the Quran burning for their own political ends, and Erdogan certainly was doing it during his election campaign.
Yeah, and now he's agreed to back Sweden's bid to join NATO after a year of blocking the move. Citing,
but it's because he wants Turkey in the EU. I mean, this is they're talking about, and which I personally think is a dreadful idea. But
to have Turkey in the EU, he likes to play with the Islamists as well too, like Erdogan. He likes to flirt with them from time to time, but then he backtracks from here to there. Like, he's all over the place. That's what I've seen.
Oh, I'd say more from time to time. I mean, the last decade, he's been openly courting the Islamists, in my opinion. He'll back off when it's politically convenient, or if he goes too far and maybe pisses off some of the West, then he might pull back a little bit on the rhetoric. But yeah, he's openly been courting them. So I would not want. I mean, again, I've got nothing against the Turkish people, but their current government is, I wouldn't want them to be part of an institution like the EU.
Yeah, I like Turkey has. We've actually had some refugee cases of LGBTQ plus individuals, even though there are rights there, but there's still like the general, we still have Turkish queer persons coming to Canada to claim refugee because it is actually very dangerous to live in Turkey, and given the social environment that is. And Turkey also has this history of, the mistreatment of Kurdish migrants, or Syrian Kurdish refugees, that is, because they cannot gain citizenship, or they have a lot of restrictions.
I mean, Moose, honestly, you could probably do a 2-hour show on just the kind of political religious situation in Turkey, because there's so many different factors going on there. I mean, they obviously cozy up to Russia sometimes, but they're part of NATO. They've got problems with their Kurdish population, Syrian migrants. I mean, it's a chaotic picture over there.
Because I work in this field, like refugee law field, so I do see a lot of these files from Turkey, especially like Syrian migrants from Turkey want to come to Canada because, again, they don't have any rights in Turkey, so to speak, or Turkey does systemically discriminate against them. So there are issues there. So yeah, we could do a 2-hour episode. Even countries like Palestine, Israel, Jordan. I do want to do at least a 2-hour episodes on each of these countries, what their situation is, because we've already done something on Pakistan. So this should be an interesting idea for a future episode.
Just to go back to the Quran burning thing, though.
Yes.
It was quite interesting because I did a live stream on my channel last week, and there was an ex-Muslim guy who came on to have a chat. He's from a Somali background, and he lives in Sweden, and he's an ex-Muslim. And it was quite interesting because obviously we got into the larger issues of difficulties with the kind of recent wave of Muslim majority kind of migration, which is very similar to, it seems to be brewing up similar issues that are happening in France over the riots and stuff like that. And he was saying, and bearing in mind he's from Somali family himself, he was saying that there is a lot of resentment and a kind of a sense of victim mentality amongst certain parts of the Muslim migrant population, which is a similar story with the North African people of North African descent living in France, which has kind of contributed to this whole riot situation. So it does seem to be a problem in a lot of European countries, and
even to an extent, even in North America, I've seen, even though it pops up, because you have a lot of when they'll migrate here. Again, this is a observation that I've made. People will become ultra religious. They, instead of assimilating with the population that you're with, you end up cutting yourself off from them. And you're kind of like, I know it's not, I'm not blaming the victim, but it's like you're kind of like weirdly inviting it at the same time. It's complex, like Jenny says, it's a bit complex.
I mean, undoubtedly, there is going to be a certain amount of discrimination, sort of hostility and stuff like that. And there are economic issues and stuff like that. But I think, as Harris Sultan had pointed out in a video that he did recently, it is exaggerated. And this Somali ex-Muslim guy was saying the same thing. He's saying, he could understand it to a certain extent, but it's massively exaggerated, this sense of victimhood, and it kind of fuels this idea that as soon as there's any kind of incident that involves, say, somebody from a Muslim background, it's like it's a green light. Now we've got the right to burn the place down, and that's a really terrible attitude to have, because first of all, you're just going to increase that sense of hostility, and secondly, often you wreck in your own communities, and and it is massively, it is a massive exaggeration, the sense of the victim mentality. I suppose essentially it's much more this idea of, oh well, we in recent centuries we've been the victim of European colonialism. Therefore, we've got and Harris Sultan talks about this in detail in his video. We've got the right to strike back. But as he said, look, there's plenty of other migrant communities who could claim that same history of being the victims of colonialism, but don't react that way. And again, we're not talking about all Muslims, obviously, but you just don't tend to see that kind of thing from, say, Indian Hindus from India, or Sikhs, or Buddhist communities, etc.
Now, to be honest, there is also
in general,
kind of difference. I mean, most Hindus that I know here in Sweden from the Indian subcontinent are here because they were invited as, for example, engineers or data computer technicians. And those aren't exactly like people fleeing from wars in the Middle East.
Right. Yes.
There is
that also plays
difference.
a factor. Yeah, I think that also plays a factor too, because
but that's true. But if you look at the situation in France, I mean, the majority of those of a Muslim background who come from a migrant population are from North Africa, primarily places like Algeria, Tunisia, etc. Now, yes, there's a history of colonialism if you want to go back to the 1960s, but none of these countries are war torn recently. Now, not to say that
isn't I know Egypt and Libya, though they're pretty nasty though in that situation. Libya and
yes.
Well, Libya's obviously had a war recently. Yeah, I mean, obviously they're sort of still in the midst of a civil war.
And I mean, the issues is that, remember, you say like, oh, it happened in the 60s, but the Algerian War of Independence was extremely bloody. They died several hundreds of thousands of people.
Yes, but you can say the same about a partition in India. I mean, there was enormous amounts of death and destruction, and that affected all. That wasn't just affecting Muslim communities. That affected Hindu communities. That affected Sikh communities. But I've never heard of this example. I've never heard of kind of general resentment.
I'm not excusing it, drastic. I'm not excusing it. Just to be clear, what I'm just saying is that there is still people that have a lot of resentment in recent living memory.
Yeah, but you're getting it from like 25-year-old, even younger sometimes, sometimes young as late teens, talking about colonialism when they were born 40 years after it ended. I mean, there has to be a cut-off point.
Well, keep in mind.
Yeah, but their fathers lived through it.
Yeah.
Their mothers lived through it.
Yeah, they're told by their parents. And they're told by their grandparents, their parents, their uncles and stuff. So in a young, impressionable mind, they kind of like absorb that in, right? So they kind of accept that.
I get that, but I mean, again, it's like, how far do you want to take this? So am I okay to go to Germany and say, well, because my grandparents fought in the Second World War and you were blitzing my city.
This is true. I'm not excusing it. We are describing it, but
we're just trying to like it's like understanding the criminal mind. That's what Jenny and I are doing.
Yes, exactly. We are trying to be descriptive, Not
No,
peace,
I mean,
reconciliation.
I recognise all that, but I think the narrative is completely toxic and it's self-destructive, and
it is toxic,
it's
for sure.
And I'm just saying there are other communities who've got similar pasts who
but
don't act.
Combine it also with the fact that it depends also where in the Middle East and North Africa, but certain communities in Middle East and North Africa of both Arab and Berber origin are extremely clannish and have extreme sorts of honor and shame cultures.
Yeah,
in other words, they see the world not as individuals having beef with each other, but entities, families.
And keep in mind,
with each other.
I've dealt with like refugee cases with tribal issues, and with the type of thinking is that once like they feel that their honor has been shaken, and once that honor has been shaken, they want to cleanse that with blood. That's the mentality. That's the attitude that a lot of people. That's how they think.
But Moose, the dude Dubai has just left a very important comment in the comment section. It says more bombs were dropped on Indochina in the Indochina war than in World War II, but you don't see the Vietnamese community in France rebelling in that way. And I take it even further because obviously, Vietnam has had the most dreadful history of colonialization in terms of not just France and obviously also America going in there during the war, Vietnam War. You also had occupation from, I think Japan was occupying them at one point. China. I mean, they've had a lot. They've had centuries of colonialism at the hands of other Asian powers and European powers and America. So, well, I'm just saying they have got more. And bearing in mind, you've got Vietnamese communities in places like America, especially some, many of the Vietnamese that kind of worked alongside the American forces, but they would easily have as much or more of a gripe. I mean, especially after the Vietnam War. I mean, Vietnam was turned into the amount of bombs, Agent Orange, and all that stuff. I mean, these people would have a legitimate grievance, and yet I've never heard of any kind of riots from, as you say, as Dude is pointing out, Vietnamese people, whether it's in France or in America.
But what Ginny and I are trying to say, because they don't have that shame culture, they don't have that tribalistic culture, right?
They also don't have, at least what I know.
At least that
in addition, we should also name. I'm not saying that Islam does not have anything to do with it. It certainly has. There does exist, Islamic reasons as to why, these people, why these communities segregate, and certain other reasons that you could connect to the religion. But I'm saying that it's multifaceted. It isn't just one reason. It's several ones together.
Of course.
Because you are not seeing the same thing from, for example, Bosnians or, Albanians.
Or, that's absolutely true. That's absolutely true. Yeah, there's a mixture of factors that goes on. But Islam is in the mix in the cases where you are seeing these riots. And I think it needs to be acknowledged, as well as saying, yes, there are other factors going on there.
Oh, yeah.
Because, it's a contributing factor, but it's not the only one.
Yes.
But then I suppose the larger question for me is how is this ever going to be resolved? How do you get rid of this sense of grievance from community, especially in these these youngsters in?
Give it time. Eventually, even these clan segregation will probably go away.
Yeah, but you look in France. These kind of riots has been. I was talking to Moose just before we came live. I remember these similar riots going on in the mid 1990s. So this has been going on at least 30 years. So we have got more than one generation.
2000. Well, even in 2005, there was something. No, in 2005.
Oh, it goes back to the mid 90s. There were riots in I think 1994 or something like that in Paris over similar things.
Yeah, that was when I was when I was born. Yeah.
Well, this is what I'm saying. So, you're such a youngster, Moose. Dear,
I will add, Joe, that there are certain things that you can do in the meantime, and you should do as well. You should, for example, not let certain minority people or leaders within these minority groups agitate and do incitement, which would otherwise be illegal for regular or
And,
you
like,
know, the minority population.
Yeah. Also, I would also
I've seen people of certain leaders, of both, you know, religious leaders and, you know, community leaders and other say things that if a Swede said them, he would be in jail.
Yeah, like, have a firm grip on the law's hand. Like, should be firm. That's what I would also.
It shouldn't be,
like,
you know, tyrannical or different. It should be the same, but applied
for
stringently.
everyone. Yes, applied stringently, and to everyone. That is. So, like,
but the thing is, but I would say if there is a ingrained mentality in some, obviously not all Muslims, plenty of Muslims who don't think this way, but in a minority that's large enough to keep causing these problems, how do you get that sense of grievance, victimhood, whatever, this sense of mentality that no matter how many generations we are in France, we'll never consider ourselves French? I mean, how do you deal with that? Because that is
you do the same thing which you did through various, you know, periods of European history when you went from clannish societies to more, you know, individualistic state-based societies.
Yeah, but that took centuries. I mean, you can say we've got to put up with another 200 years of riots. I mean, come on. I mean, that's
you're not going to have 200 years. I can say that this will probably change. Maybe 50 to 100 years.
Oh, that's all right then. Yeah, so just another potential century of burning down, you know, cities.
Yeah, but keep in mind, drastic.
I'm not saying that this is good. You should, when they begin to riot, you should immediately send the police and say stop, because you're not demonstrating, you're rioting and destroying and vandalizing.
And
but
stealing.
Yeah, like, I think the mentality I predict it's going to go way faster only because the internet.
That's one reason too.
That's a big factor because,
I mean,
there's a lot of ex-Muslims, people from these tribes, people from the different cultures.
There is also one thing I want to point out with immigrants from the Middle East that I've noticed.
Yes.
They are a very diverse bunch because they are the outliers. It's usually the outliers from the Middle East that, you know, emigrate to the, you know, West. So so at once you have extremely, you know, well-educated, westernized, secular people, but you have also people that are arguably well-educated, but are extremely, you know, radicals in various ideologies and also in religions. You have various kind of, you know, I mean, I just realized it when I walk in, for example, the suburbs of both, you know, Lund and Malmö in southern Sweden. Yes. I mean, when you speak with the Arabs there about, you know, religious methods, you realize that these are from, you know, minority sects, often very radical ones, or from, you know, groups all over. It's like,
yeah, of course. I mean, look, it's always going to be a complex picture, Ginny. But I mean, I think that can almost.
What you have here is a concentration of radicals. That isn't representative of the normal.
But I see. This is where countries. But this is where I would see. This is where I do think it almost becomes a thing of like, well, we're trying not to stereotype, which is fine. But then, how? I don't think it is just radicals. I think that sense of grievance goes on with far more than just like the extremist fringe. I think it's way more deep-seated.
It does.
Thousands and thousands of people rioting all over the country in France. This is not just a handful of radicals.
But I'm not saying that it's just a handful of radicals. What you need to realize is that you had more radicals in these suburbs, or people coming from the Middle East and North Africa and immigrating to France, than you have in even the Middle East. Why? Because the radicals usually, you know, in these countries in the Middle East and North Africa, many of them aren't especially, you know, prone to tolerating free speech, especially of ideas that are, you know, challenging the status quo or, you know, the people in power. And many radical Islamists are doing that. Hence, they flee to, you know, the West. Hence, you get a larger percentage of these people. And when you get a larger percentage of these, there in the, for example, suburbs than is normally the case in the Middle East, then you're going to get hyper radicalization for a while.
Yeah, but I don't think it's just that though, because you get large numbers of regular North Africans migrate to France every year on the various visa schemes. I mean, they've got special agreements with places like Algeria and Tunisia to be able to have more people come to France from those countries.
Yes,
and there has been, and any time there's talk of cutting that back, there's loads of outcry about it. So I think it's more than just radicals or the type of people that are migrating are coming from these unusual situations or individual sects that are more maybe prone to not integrating. To me, the problem seems larger now. I mean, look, obviously, I'm speaking anecdotally. I haven't looked into the French.
I agree with you that there are, Islam, but these groups are disproportionately, even with those considerations, that you do get a more radical.
Oh, just to say hi, hello to Bank. I see Banksy is in the chat. Hey, Banksy, how's it going?
I see the Judahites have also posted 2 statements that are.
Okay, let me read this. Solution is a realistic view. MSM is just full of puff pieces. What's MSM
this
again?
This is true.
Mainstream media.
Yeah, mainstream media is full of puffsies. They don't ask questions which are disproportionate. Terrorist attacks, Islamic this is something. Yes. I think also because mainstream media is very scared to address the issue, and also this is also something to bring up, because I think Haris Sultan brought this up in a study. That is, I don't know how accurate the study is, but yeah, comparatively to Pakistanis and Bangladeshis versus Indians, for example, who were under the same colonialism umbrella, the Indian population was relatively more successful than the Pakistani and Bangladeshi. Now, however, I could say that generally Pakistan and Bangladesh also had their own issues, post-colonial issues, not so much colonial, but more like post-colonial, that does, hinder that.
Sorry, Moose, sorry to interrupt. Have you got somebody waiting in the back chat? It looks like
I'm just Ginny. Oh no, it's just you saying, "Hey Moose, sub, hello." What is
I didn't know if that was somebody who was looking to join the panel or.
Oh yeah. There's a Saudi atheist. Okay, there we go. 1 second at stream. Hello, welcome, Saudi atheist. How are you?
Hey, sup, guys?
Hi.
Hello.
So yeah,
hey.
So would you like to ask a question or contribute something?
Yeah, sure. Thank you for allowing me to participate. Well, as it's seen, I come from Saudi Arabia, and I come from the center of Islam, where Muslims have the dominant voice in there. I traveled around the Arab world. I went to Jordan, Egypt, you name it. And the amount of, so Islam, generally speaking, it's more of an octavistic problem, meaning it's a problem of different reasons. So Islam nowadays is some sort of, you could say, an umbrella, a term for self-destruct, self-conflated groups or of ideologies. So that's right off the bat, meaning you could find there's a Sunni Shia war, there's a Sunni war, there's a Shia war, there's a secular versus fundamentalist. So
yes.
Yeah, non-secular, you name it. Yeah, and there's even a secular war going on. It's really an octavistic problem. It's like more of, so it's really difficult to put our fingers or where the problem of Islam really is, because there are just so many and they're self-conflating. They jump from here to there. So I've gone through. So I'm in Europe now. I'm out of Saudi. I won't be able to join this platform if I was still there, because I'm an apostate.
I was concerned for your safety, so I hope you're you're okay.
Thanks. So I went through the immigration process here. So I lived in a refugee camp, quote unquote refugee camp. I spoke with a lot of Arabs, and 90% of the refugees are Muslims. They come from Afghanistan, Iraq, Syria, in North Africa. So I'm in Europe. 90% of the people that I spoke to literally have no case for why they're there. They actually say, well, they ask each other, what should I tell the court? I mean, what kind
Yes,
of case should I bring
I
up?
could. Yes, okay, Saudi. I kid you not, Saudi atheist. We've had clients come to us and ask us to write the story, and we've said no, we're not going to do that for you because
Dear, oh dear.
because of the fact that, hey, we're going to write your story. We're not going to write your story for you. Like, we're going to write it. Yeah, you have to tell us the story, then we write it. But we're not going to make up something for you because we don't know where you came from, what situation you faced, and we don't have the evidences because you have to provide evidences for proving why you're from a discriminated group, for example. So yeah, Saudi atheists, you are pretty spot on that. So, but yeah, continue. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. I just want to chime in. I just want to say hi to Banksy. How's it going, mate?
Hi, Banksy.
Good evening, gentlemen. Good evening. Yes, thank you, Drastic and Moose, everyone. You'll be making some stellar videos, Drastic. I have to say, I really enjoyed some of your stuff.
Oh, thank you. Thanks, mate. I appreciate that.
And
yeah, I just wanted
culture and Saudi. Sorry.
I just wanted to quickly throw in. We was having a chat last week on my live stream about this whole thing of different Muslim people from different Muslim backgrounds tend to do better when they are of a more secular background. Like, for example, in the UK, there's a lot of people from Turkish and Kurdish backgrounds, but on the whole, they tend to be more secular. And you don't, on the whole, get the same kind of problems as are more associated, say, with the more highly religious, say, Pakistani migrant community in the UK. And there were people in the chat saying, yes, this seems to be the case in other countries, like in Germany. Like somebody who was living in Canada was in a live chat saying the same thing. Like, she'd be saying, yeah, it tends to be that those of Muslim background from Turkey, they tend to be more secular and they tend to be more chilled out. So it does seem to be the religiosity does play a factor, does play a role. But yeah, sorry.
Yeah, sure. So to respond to that, I think the difference based on my personal experience, it's not a hearsay. And even though it's pretty subjective, but I would love to share it.
Absolutely.
The difference between a secular Muslim and a fundamentalist Muslim is just a spectrum, more of a spectrum. So there is a limit actually for a secular. In other words, if somebody says F-U-C-K Muhammad, for example, even a secular person would actually shred your neck, would love to kill you sometimes. So now, like the burning the Quran that happened the day before, I mean, there were protests in Turkey, and there were protests in quote unquote secular, more of secularized Muslim countries. But there's a bigger problem, which is the cultural issue with the secularists. Like, I spoke with one Iraqi guy who's been here for 11 years in the country where I'm at, in Germany. And the way he speaks, the way he walks, the way he talks, the way he thinks, as if he literally just arrived in Germany. Oh, I said the word. Anyway, in Germany last night, like literally last night. Like, he has no idea.
Yeah. So he's basically still has the accent. Like, he comes across as what we within our Desi community, we call ourselves like fresh off the boat, kind of. It's someone who's fresh off the boat.
It's not more of the accent. It's more of the way he lives. His whole life, he hasn't blended into the society. He doesn't know what Germany is like. Yes, so there's like he brought, like, he came here and he brought the whole Iraq with him here. So that's gonna change. Like, that's gonna like challenge the freedoms here. They may affect, like, there's some social implications on what's going on here. So it's really like, if you go out now and criticize Muhammad in Europe, anywhere, I mean, even if you could like say, well, I'm not going to cross certain lines, and you say that Muhammad is associated, say, with pedophilia, you're pretty much dead. You're not going to go out the day after and hang out on the streets and buy some stuff from supermarket.
I mean, it's not that bad.
The funny thing is, some people are using that aspect of Islamic or Islamists' behaviors as a virtue. I mean, if you listen to people like Andrew Tate, who claims that just the fact that you can't criticize Islam or you can't slander Islam because of the death threats and the potential chances of you getting killed is a virtue to that religion. Oh, it's a good thing that the Muslims slaughter you if you say something bad about them. And that is something that they want to encourage Christians to bring back. And that to me is unfathomable. But yes, I mean, as far as what you guys are saying in regards to quote unquote secular Muslims, I go out with Muslim. I mean, when I go out, it's like the OPEC nations meeting. I go out with Saudis, Emiratis, Iraqis, Kurds, Egyptians. So we're all out and we're all drinking tequilas and we're all chasing women. We're doing all of that thing. Come Ramadan, all of those guys suddenly.
Oh yeah, I know that. I know that.
I know, right?
All of a sudden, we've got the most pious Muslims. Oh, salam alaikum, brother. Yes, no, I'm sorry. I'm fasting today. I'm like, you were doing tequila shots with me last week. Last week, we were hammered we had a hangover like I couldn't believe. Now you're a Muslim? You think what? God doesn't notice this? Is God got some kind of memory issues? But that's how it is. That's the hypocrisy of
it has also a lot to do with identity.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of Canadian Muslims, Pakistani Canadian Muslims, who are, again, even relatively, I've seen Pakistani Canadian Muslims relatively less radical because a lot of them came in the 70s and 80s. There's more, I think Ginny has a point that is more, they sort of attach Muslim as more of an identity, but they're not practicing Muslims. Like, it's more as a sense of identity or belonging at this point. So that also,
yeah, I mean, Moose, I just want to say as well, I mean, I was the person who brought up the term secular Muslim, and I don't want to give the impression that I think that because they are not as religious, or they'll do what like Banksy's talking about, go out and get pissed up on the weekend or whatever. Yeah, I'm not saying that means that they are absolutely cool. Like, if you burn the Quran in front of them, they'd be like, oh yeah, who gives a shit? I'm not saying anything like that, but I suppose in general, like, they're not outside like cinemas and schools protesting and stuff like that, and like creating mobs to intimidate teachers, and a cinema that releases releases a movie about what was that Shia
Lady of Heaven.
That's the one. Thank you. Yes. Yeah, I mean, and they're outside like in mobs, threatening the cinemas until they withdraw it. You don't get that kind of thing with these guys on the whole.
No, but that's depending on how sort of how big their population numbers are. You see, there's a chap who wrote, I forgot his name. He wrote the book Dune and the Children of Dune. He had a quote. He says, "When I am weak,"
Frank Herbert.
Frank Herbert, exactly. He says, "When I am weak, I will ask for freedom of speech because that is according to your beliefs. But when I am strong, I will take away your freedom of speech because that is according to my beliefs." And that is how it is with most of these groups. It doesn't matter. I mean, you could say it could be Christians, it could be communists, it could be Muslims. When they are in the weaker state, when Muslims find themselves individuals or in minority groups, very tiny minority groups, they'll keep their head down, they'll get on with their life, and no one's the wiser. And some of them live very secular lives. It's when the groups grow. So you can take a Pakistani and put him in a town which is 80-90%, I don't know, Spanish, French, English, and you won't hear a peep from him. Take that same Pakistani, put him in a town which is 30%, not even that, 10% Pakistanis. That individual completely changes his behavior. Now, I've got friends of mine, as I said, that I do tequila shots with, but I can promise you that if suddenly the Britain becomes an Islamic Sharia and the man puts a sword to my neck and says, you either see the light of Allah in the reflection of my sword or you will get my sword, my friend may not be the one holding the sword, but he will stand in the crowd and he will say a word He will be the silent ones. So it's not that these secular ones will not necessarily be the ones who are cutting your neck, but they will not interfere with the ones who do.
Yeah,
this kind of
secular atheist. Saudi atheist. My apologies. Saudi atheist. Do you have something to say in response?
I mean, I totally agree. I mean, for example, take the Israelis. I mean, the Israelis will never feel safe in the whole Muslim world, or the Arab world, to be more specific. I absolutely agree with it. That's what I meant by the secular Muslims earlier. It's more of a spectrum. You will. I mean, I would find it difficult to find a noticeable number of Muslims where you can just say, if Muhammad or if Allah, or burn the Quran from them, and they just be fine with it. But they are weak when they are less, and the more they grow, they will be more intolerant towards you. They would actually be very hostile, and they would kill you because, I mean, I've gone through it. I actually wanted to kill people who were burning the Quran. I mean, back in the days in Denmark, was it Denmark, where they draw Muhammad? Yeah, in 2006.
Actually, one of the guys involved in that, Rasmus Paludan, is one of the Quran burners here in Sweden. Because he got into issues, I think, back in Denmark, so he fled over to Sweden.
Exactly. The indoctrination that I was taught, I was giving in Saudi Arabia, that I have to love Allah and Muhammad more than I love myself. And
the family too,
I've been
more
taught
than
that.
the family.
Yes, I mean, the level of narcissism is at its finest, and like that's for years and years, like my whole life, even in the Quran where it says my life and my death is for Allah, Allah alone, and in His Prophet. So if you teach these people such thing, and then they encounter such an objection, like by burning the Quran, I mean, what do you expect? So it's really more of an ideology. So I find it difficult to kind of tolerate a whole populations of Muslims coming in. I mean, I would, if I was in charge, I'm gonna have to set up rules to say, well, here are the rules, you have to abide them, and to fight this kind of ideology. But I guess it's a little bit too late in France and the UK, and I hope things get better.
I mean, it's not. I mean, I'm not seeing any sort of Islamic takeover of either France or the UK. If there would even become even closely as that bad, it would be, and civil war would erupt. And believe me, it would be pretty one-sided. Because the Muslims over here aren't united. They do not have a financial backing or any sort of great, financial, industrial base to, make or power in order to enact a civil war, and it would just end in a one-sided slaughter.
I mean, also in Canada, I also say it's not too late. Like, it's because Canada has introduced lots of strict regulations when it comes to like accepting, PR applications, permanent residency, refugee applications, and especially like even though it seems on the surface, okay, it's relaxed, but the board members, especially like when they say, why do you choose to come to Canada? Why didn't you go to, let's just say, Germany? Why didn't you go to Italy? Why didn't you go to Turkey? So they will actually grill you on that a lot, like at least the Canadian government. And so far, it's only in Ontario so far, like that, we have the biggest Muslim population, but rest of Canada is relatively untouched at this juncture. But,
I mean,
yeah, go ahead.
What of it is really discussing? I mean, I'm aware, and I do think there will still be a lot of issues with the Muslim immigrations, but I don't think, I'm not seeing any sort of takeover,
right?
Or even anything less than a very one-sided civil war, if it would ever get to that point.
Yeah, because go ahead, Banks.
Oh no, I just want to quickly say, the thing is, you guys are you may be looking at things the way that they are now, and it is true, the Muslim population, even across Europe, even in Britain, I think we've got like maybe 5-6%, something like that. It's still very, very low numbers. But what I've been looking at, and a lot of people have been looking at for a long time, is the projections, especially from Pew data, of the population growth of these communities in the next by I think it's like 2040, 2050, and that is a very different outline, and because of the fact that it's simple birth rates. I mean, it's just simple numbers.
Oh, yeah.
They are also beginning to plateau as well. And also, even then, you come to a degree also there where people will begin to feel, no, this is threatening. Now we need to close all immigrations, because that is also happening. You're seeing the reaction in various, anti-immigration parties.
Let me jump in here, because this is sorry to interrupt, Ginny, but I want to jump in on this point because this is quite interesting.
Sure.
When the last population census came out in the UK, which was 2021, I went through, because there's a breakdown of like sort of region, and you can work out roughly where most of the migration came from, what parts of the world. And it seemed that the increase in the Muslim population in the UK came, I would estimate, about 90% from migration. So I don't actually think the birth rate, I mean, obviously there is a higher birth rate amongst Muslims on average, but most of the increase
actually going down.
Well, it does reduce with each passing generation.
Yes, exactly.
But the migration level has just gone through the roof in the last 10 years in the UK. And a massive amount has come from kind of Muslim majority countries. So, but I think that's actually worse, because I think if you're born in the country, I would hope that you would have enough influence from just the general kind of laws and culture and stuff like that, that there'll be less chance of you rejecting things than compared to a first generation migrant from somewhere like Afghanistan or Iraq or something like that, where yes, they may have wanted to get away from the Taliban, but do they still have lots of really regressive views about blasphemy, about women, about freedom of speech and stuff like that? Well, yeah, they are going to, because that's the culture they were brought up in. So, and because it does seem that Western countries at the moment are kind of addicted to this idea that endless migration is just perfect for your economy, I think that is where you will get issues, because you just get wave upon wave of new migrants who don't share the same cultural values on really important things like this. And again, I'm not trying to demonize all migrants or anything like that, but
absolutely.
But it it does show, and as Banksy was pointing out, yes, not every Muslim's going to go along with this, of course not. But when you can have things like a teacher in Yorkshire is not only driven out of the school, but driven out of the town, and is still in hiding 2 years later because he showed a picture of Muhammad in the classroom. Well, if that happens at this level, yeah, you do have to wonder, with an increase of population, if people are still going to have these ideas in general in the Islamic community, that doesn't really bode well. So you've either got to have better integration, or I can understand the calls for wanting to restrict migration in those circumstances, because you can see that there's some severe cultural costs. And I don't think that makes you a bigot to point that out.
No. That was my point. I'm thinking that, every action will have a reaction. I think that if this gets more out of hand, it will have a counter reaction and something will happen. I just hope that the counter reaction will not be an overreaction.
Oh, just to answer Doorknob Head, no, the teacher that was killed, that was in France. The teacher that was beheaded.
The UK one, the Yorkshire one, had to go in hiding, right?
And he still is, as far as I'm aware. I could be wrong on that. Maybe somebody's got an update, but I think that happened like 2 years ago now, and he hasn't been able to return to his home, his family, his school. So, that's fucked up that we've allowed that situation to go. And again, that is our culture's fault for saying that this is okay, that we're going to tolerate it. And
the police should have put down the foot there and said, "No, stop."
Oh no!
The teacher union completely. Oh, sorry, go.
The funny thing is, there was another incident, only I think last year, where a young boy who was actually described as severely autistic ended up being goaded by his classmates to bring a Quran or was given a Quran at school, which he was then which he was going to take home and deface or do something. But either way, the only thing that happened to the Quran was, I think, one of the pages was slightly scuffed or creased, And the Muslim population, I think this was in Birmingham, absolutely lost their mind. They wanted to kill this child. The mother of the child had to come to a mosque and practically beg for forgiveness. And the police, by the way, were there begging for forgiveness at the same time from the Muslim community.
Yes.
And not only that, they said to this boy, he is now being charged with a hate incident. That is on his record now as a hate incident because he scuffed a Quran. This is the police in Britain. So when you think that the police are going to step in, don't hold your breath for them.
Banksy, that was only a few months ago, I think. I don't even think that was last year. And the kid was getting death threats. And it's like, why are the police not dealing with that side? If you're going to go to the Muslim community leaders, you should be saying, not let's beg for forgiveness. Let's say, can you please, if you know someone who's made a death threat against this child, then let us know so we can prosecute them. But as you say, instead, they're going around basically begging for forgiveness because apparently we've got blasphemy laws now.
This is an example of the police actually not doing its work or institutions not functioning as they should. And this was what I was, pointing towards. These things need to change. The police needs to enforce laws equally.
It's not just the police, though, Jimmy. It's not just the police. I mean, like in the previous example, the teacher, the school union,
the teacher union
sold him out completely, didn't back him up. In the recent case that Banksy just brought up, the school, I think, suspended the child and was again doing the begging for forgiveness thing. So there's no support. It's not just the police. It's all the institutions around.
Yes. Yeah. And this was what I meant with institution. What I mentioned before by the institutions need to be, stringent and actually keep to their guns. They need to stand up for, what are the rules, what are the, laws, or what are the regulations. You need to follow them. You do not make exceptions to these mobs. I mean, eventually people are going to, be fed up with this, and they are going to vote in some sort of extremist that is going to say, I'm going to fix this with some sort of hyper radical plan. And it's going to add even worse.
I've been warning against that for best part of 20 years. That when they bring the train carts over, unfortunately, I also am going to be thrown in right alongside all the fanatics that are at Speaker's Corner, because nobody's going to pick and choose between, are you an atheist Iranian or are you just one of those fanatical Iranians? No, just get in the train because we're going to Auschwitz. But
let me tell you something.
I just want to quickly let me just quickly get this one out. The thing is that when it comes to these establishments, not what I'm waiting for, and this is which is basically I've got my popcorn out, is when the LGBTQIA plus community eventually starts to clash with the Islamic community, and this is happening in small portions, but it is going to happen increasingly. And I'm just gonna sit back and watch and eat my popcorn.
And being part of the I being part of the queer community, LGBTQIA plus, I myself being one, I'm already seeing it. In the United States, there was a Muslim majority, I think, council that banned the pride flag, and it was actually horrifying. That is, like, this is actually going to be very horrifying. I'm actually kind of dreading this, to be honest.
Moose. I mean, I was raising this issue years ago when the first there was a poll. I think it was around 2015, maybe, that polled Muslims about their views on homosexuality. This is in the UK, and 52% of Muslims said that they wanted homosexuality to be a criminal offence. 52%. So now, obviously, this is not going to be the case on every issue, but you can see there that if the majority are in favour, even if it's by a small amount, this is not just a fringe issue. This is not just the extremist. Nope, this is mainstream view within the community, and therefore, I've been saying this for years. I've said it in so many videos. It's kind of like, well, you have to say that you're rolling the dice and basically saying, it's okay to increase the Muslim population, and all we're potentially willing to sacrifice is the freedom of gay people not to be jailed. I think it is fucked up. I think it is fucked up.
I actually worry for the queer community in general, because
I think that actually this will be one of the bullets where I think that these more extreme elements of Islam are going to face enormous opposition, because there are financial interests on both sides here, both on in the institutions. I've gone through this, before, and it's too much to go through here. But this will, and there are so many interest organizations on both sides here that a clash here will raise, eyes, and it will be talked about in a way it will previous issues haven't been. And
Also,
there's also another thing here. When when the war against Ukraine by Russia started, I saw how these people that used to preach be tolerant about even the most worst of excesses regarding immigration and certain immigrant communities, they changed their tone immediately and began to call Russians orcs, without people without culture, and began to it even went so far that I saw in the parliament a proposal to jail and confine in concentration camp or confinement camps at least all Russians down to 3 generations.
What the heck? Holy, this is excessive.
Yeah, and this probably I've never been so unnerved by anything really in Sweden, even the most worst stupidity, until I saw that, because that really scared me.
Yeah, and it's like it'll also give like extremists like firepower. Also Saudi atheist, you had some. Also, by the way, hi Debo Dro. Saudi atheist, you had something to contribute. I know you opened your mic.
Yeah, well, so there's a famous saying where it says, if you can beat them, join them. So even if we apply that with the Muslims and we allowed Islam to spread as what it's going on right now, we're still not going to get away with it. I mean, the Sunnis and the Shia are going to fight. So it's not more of Muslim versus non-Muslim, it's Muslim. I'm also part of quote unquote LGB, so I'm bisexual, even though I kind of oppose lots of ideologies. I mean, I'm someone who believes there's only a male and a female, and I think that also kind of community went beyond the line about castrating and mutilating children and exposing them to fetishization.
Yeah. I think we also have within our community like debates. That's So we're also kind of on the sensible side.
So
let's avoid the trans issue, man. That's just like a whole nother can of worms to
sure.
The trans issue is a separate.
So,
we should discuss it on a separate channel more.
So,
if it's towards social issues.
Sure, I will share my own story. So even my own brother, someone I was born and lived with, and I even remember when we were kids, we were chasing each other to who reaches the primary school first. Now, as we're speaking now, my brother wants me dead because he wants to quote unquote cleanse my soul from the devil, So my own brother, someone who's like big Salafi with big long beard, he actually wanted me dead, and my own father wants me dead. Because that's what the Lord and the pedophile said 1,400 years ago, in case he existed. So imagine like a brother, like such an ideology that breaks a family into half, where a brother has to kill blindly, I would say, has to kill his own brother. I mean, how is that even love? How is that even such a religion that comes from quote unquote peaceful religion, or is religion of peace? So the amount of hypocrisy, someone who shifted from a Muslim world and now came to Europe, the difference of perspectives. I mean, I would say 90% of the Muslims that I spoke to or spoke with here in Europe are liars. They have double standards. So they don't actually say what their religion teaches. So either they're scared, either they're using quote unquote taqiyya, and if you don't know what taqiyya is, it's like more of a justified hypocrisy.
That's something that is more of a Shia doctrine, but
and
it's also
more of a Sunni Muslims kind of adopted that, but originally it was supposed to be a Shia thing, because Shia Muslims being persecuted over the centuries. Especially, it was concept for centuries.
Also,
Yeah.
regarding this hypocrisy, I mean, nifaq, or general hypocrisy, is common in most religions.
Yeah.
I mean, most Christians in the Western world aren't really Christians if you go and check up what the Bible truly says and apply it literally. But they would identify as such.
Saudi atheists. I tell you what, I'm doing a live stream tomorrow on my channel at 5. If you want to join me, I'd love to talk to you some more, man. If you've got the time, because I'm fascinated by your story.
Absolutely, I would be more happy then. Thank you so much for allowing me to speak, and thank you so much for sharing your information, guys. Wish you all a good night.
And also, it's been a pleasure so far having you. But yes, I think you were in the middle of a story, so sorry for the interruption.
Sorry about that. Plug in my channel. Sorry, I apologize, miss.
Yeah. No. Also for me, like, sorry for the questions. But yeah, you were saying something like on the lines of like how your father and your brother, want you dead, even though in your childhood you were playing together, and then it's just the switch has flipped. So yeah, you were saying something about that.
Yeah. So even so my mom doesn't know that I am quote unquote an atheist or an apostate, because at least there's at least one good aspect of the story, that both sides didn't tell my mom because they don't want my mom to know. I don't want my mom to know about it. So my mom is off the picture, but my brother kind of actively wanted to send people and made a bribe to actually send people to come here and kill me. I got that sorted. Yeah, so because to cleanse the reputation of the family,
honor.
because I did actually put honor right there.
Yeah.
So because I posted some YouTube videos exposing my face and just coming out as an atheist, as a bisexual, and that really kind of hurt them very bad, and they said, well, you need to be dead. So such story, even my own sister tried to lure me back to the country, saying that she will help me find peace in between. But then I realized, without getting too detailed, that we're working together, her and my dad. So imagine just your own family. It's really difficult. I mean, I made one attempt of suicide, but I got out of it. Like the Christians say, reborn. So I was kind of like reborn and found lots of good things in life right now. So I'm free now. I've got the residence here. I respect the European values. I would love to be part of this community and live in peace with everyone.
No, absolutely.
You already are, man, and good for you. I'm glad you're safe, because that's a story I've heard a lot from ex-Muslims, similar kind of things. Sorry, I think Banksy was going to say something.
Yeah, I'm just going to ask, if you don't mind, if I hope it's not too much of a personal question. If you don't wish to answer it, please just say I don't want to answer it. But which did your family find harder to accept? You being an atheist, or you being a bisexual?
I was going to ask the same damn question. Thank you, Banksy.
Oh, sorry, but yeah, that was the first thing in my head.
No, that's beautiful. No, I'm glad you asked, because you saved me the trouble.
Yeah, it's just like, which one is the most egregious act, being a mortadine or being bisexual?
So when it comes to my sexuality, they were more of quote unquote disgusted with it. So they kind of felt so disgusted. They kind of mocked me. They sent me mockeries and they cursed me. But they never mentioned anything about killing me because I'm bisexual. That happens, killing me, or they started threatening me when they figured out that I'm an atheist. So it depends on what kind of method we use to determine which one is worse. So if we're talking about death threats, then it's apostasy. But when it comes to bisexuality, I mean, one of my cousins is bisexual, and his dad figured it out, and he beat him up, and that was it. So it is a little bit of slight tolerance towards it in the Arab and the Saudi, quote unquote, Saudi society. It doesn't really reach to killing, but apostasy, where you go against Allah and Muhammad, yeah, your head must be chopped off right off the bat.
Yeah, that's kind of, I gathered. I kind of had the same sense that that would be the more egregious act. It's actually being an apostate is worse than any sexual orientation. This is to me the mind virus of this whole thing, is that just simply changing your mind is the worst thing you could possibly do. I bet you if you'd murdered someone, they'd forgive you quicker than you not accepting Allah. That's to me is like unfathomable. Is this they can forgive almost anything. The religious, or this certainly in the Islamic world. And by the way, my culture and my people, those who are religious, are exactly the same. It's just I'm lucky that Iranians have a bit of a mixed bag of non-religious and non-believers versus believers. And in the last 40 years of the Islamic Republic, it has created a lot of atheists. I'll tell you that. It's created
I've actually, I think there was someone posted that this is a case of turning a population atheist. Like that's what Iran just ended up doing, the Iranian regime. And yes, Drastic, you were saying something?
No, I was just going to say it's funny because what Saudi atheists were saying, I've heard that from at least half a dozen other ex-Muslims that I've spoken to over the years who are gay or bisexual, etc. They've said the same thing. It's kind of yeah, they were annoyed about the issues over sexuality, but it was this idea of, well, as long as you're still Muslim, we can work on that. But as soon as it's like the apostasy thing, it's like, no, fuck that now, you're dead to me. And almost, you know, literally there's a threat there. So yeah, I've heard this quite a lot. It's I don't know whether it's that thing of, well, as long as you don't act on it, then you're still good to go. Whereas with the apostasy thing, nah, there's no turning back from that shit. So yeah,
remember we were reacting to Dr. Abdul Patel, and he said something along the lines of like, "Oh, you would have to face the Muslim community," like, you know, and then he said something along the lines of like, "The act is okay." So remember,
I didn't like that Dr. Patel guy, man. He was a shifty so and so. But
I think Saudi atheist is probably going to leave us. So yeah, if you are, have a great one. Thank you for coming.
Yeah, so yeah, Saudi
Thank you,
atheist,
guys.
you're heading off then. Yeah, no problem. Take care.
Oh, yeah. Thank you,
Yeah,
Saudi
you're
atheist.
welcome.
It's brilliant, man.
Yeah.
Brilliant that you come on and sharing your story, because
Yeah.
it takes a lot of guts to do that as well. So you know, it's taking a risk.
Yeah, no, I very appreciate. You know, it's good. Like this is a platform for those, Nick and I, and we kind of have this platform for people who cannot generally share their story. This is the platform for you. Even if you're ex-Muslim, you're ex-Ahmadi Muslim, you're ex-Shia Muslim, yeah, from Saudi Arabia or any part of the world, or if you're even ex-Christian or ex-Mormon or something like that, this is the platform for you. Like you are more than welcome to come here and share your story. So this is my message to all the viewers. Like if you know anybody who wants to come, please do give me please reach out. Just please reach out.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I don't want to sound like a suck up to you guys, but you guys are like criminally undersubscribed and underviewed, because there is so much great analysis you guys have done that I haven't been able to like watch everything, but I've watched quite a few bits, and you and of course the original Speaker's Corner.
Stop spamming and Rob Speakers.
Stops exactly.
Yeah.
You guys have produced so much great content in this sphere for such a long time, and it's I presume it's probably a YouTube algorithm thing, but anyone who criticizes Islam, it's very few that are broken out. They're like people like Apostate Atheists and Atheist Republic and stuff, and a few people like that have now gone beyond. They become so big that it's hard for the algorithms to really suppress them. But this channel should have blown up, ages ago, because you guys have covered some really good stuff.
Yeah, because Stop Spamming told me that the channel was bigger, but then it got blocked, like it got banned because of the mass reporting, and it was during that it was just a bad timing. And I've also noticed that we are limited access, like in Pakistan, for example, in a country like Pakistan, you can view the videos, but you can't go to the channel for some weird reason. So there are restrictions depending from country to country on.
I think that's the same in Saudi Arabia as well. I'm pretty sure Stop
in
said
Saudi
that
Arabia, Qatar, yeah, these places, yeah, we're probably definitely like, you know, restricted in places like this. So that in itself hinders our, you know, subscriber count. And also, we don't do Patreon. That's our thing. We don't do Patreon for, you know, no ads, nothing like that. This is supposed to be a free platform.
Both I and Drastic also have our own separate channels where we post videos. I do mostly culture and history stuff, and not really, you know, discussion or criticism of religion on my channel. A lot of my stuff does have to do with Islam.
Islamic history. You do a lot of good stuff on Islamic history too. And Drastic, he does some good stuff on like critiquing people like Muhammad Hijab and, you know, Ali Dawah.
But speaking about Islamic history, I'm going to, you know, release a video tomorrow about a certain infamous battle that occurred in Iraq that has to do with Islamic history.
Oh, Karbala.
I think Banksy's absolutely right in terms of problems with the algorithm and stuff like that. Because I mean, the first year that I had my channel open, I didn't even get 400 subscribers. Now, in the last few months, things have been picking up, and I think it's just the sheer volume of videos I've been putting out has like forced the algorithm to recognize me a bit more. So things are growing now. I've got over 1,000 subs, but Jesus Christ, you really have to work at it when you're doing content on Islam, and unless you're pro-Islam, then you can get a million subscribers, no problem.
This is why I said what I said was because I want you guys to not lose heart. It's so incredibly soul crushing where you put in so much effort into so much work, and then you know you get so little return. I'm not even saying financial return, just the return on viewership, because that's exactly my goal with my channel. Is I just want people to see the things I do, and I want to at least have some level of acknowledgement that what I do is actually good enough material that people enjoy to watch. And when you artificially have that cut from, you know, you get your knee, you know, legs cut from under you by algorithms who actually actively work against you, or the system working actively against you, you think you start to lose hope. You start to wonder, am I doing anything? Is it worth doing this? And this is why I want to give you guys that, like, no, what you're doing is good. Trust me, it is good work. From what I've seen on other people who get for some reason far more views, Muslim channels that get 10 times more views and produce garbage. This is why I'm saying don't lose heart, stay the course, because what you put out into the world, just like someone like Saudi atheist over there would watch this film, will watch one of your videos, watch one of your critiques, and change their life. Just
Doorknob Hub says here, do pro-Islam as a ruse. No, don't do that.
You know what? I tell you what, it's so funny that Doorknob had brought that up. No, right. I had this plan. I was going to do a video where I was thinking about doing another YouTube channel and pretending that I was a Muslim convert, right? And I will make a prediction. I will get 10,000 subs within the first 2 months. I can guarantee it. All you have to do is come on and say, hey, you know, I used to be an atheist, but now I'm a full-on Salafi, and I love, you know, let me sit here and read the Quran.
Don't do that.
It'd be a great social experiment, though. Come on, you got to admit, and then do like a big reveal. Do like a big reveal at the end, like, actually, I was just bullshitting you, but I was just making a point about the algorithm. I think that'd be great.
Pull an Andrew Tate.
And honestly, like when I stepped into Pakistan,
has the noise disappeared?
Who?
Sorry.
The noise has disappeared. Yeah, I think Banksy. Is that your mic that's creating the noise in the background?
You sound like you sit next to a refrigerator.
Yeah. I think it's Banksy's mic. I think it's the mic. No worries.
It's not too bad. It's not too bad, mate.
Just mute when you're not speaking, and then when you want to speak, just unmute, and then that would minimize that. But otherwise, no issue.
The reason I was thinking of doing that is not only just to prove a point, but I get so many Muslims in my comment section saying, like, you're just doing this for the money. And it's like, I've only just reached the point where I can even monetize my channel. And I'm talking about all these grifters like Mohammed Hijab and Ali Dawah who constantly beg for money on every video. And I get accused for doing it for the money, even though I can't even, it's only been the last like week that I could even monetize my channel. And so therefore I was just going to make the point, like if I really wanted to make money from Islam, I'd just pretend to be a convert and I would get cash rolling in.
And honestly, like religion in itself, like especially being not just a convert, you can even pretend to be an imam too, or like preach something, you know, and boom, there's subscribers. Like you will definitely appeal to somebody, or you could be like one of those like Muslim lifestyle bloggers or something like that too, because I get those on my feed, way too many of them, like especially female Muslim bloggers on my feed. It's like, where are you coming from?
Yeah, but Moose, over Ramadan that just passed back in April, May, I was getting loads of recommendations, obviously because I watch a lot of videos on Islam, of all these new channels that have been up for like a month saying, oh yeah, I've converted to Islam. And they've already got like 5,000-10,000 subscribers in the first few weeks. So don't tell me that the critique of Islam is where the money lies. No. That is just not the case.
Not at all. We're poor as shit. We're poor. And I'm sorry, D. Boudreaux, Zionists aren't funding this. Unfortunately, now the Zionists now have started accusing me of being anti-Semitic. Unfortunately.
You know what? I was never more proud than the first time I got an accusation of being funded by Israel. I was so proud when I got that first. I was like, I've arrived here, lads. Now I'm here.
Sorry, guys. I just want to check. Is the sound better?
Yeah, much better.
Perfect. Yeah, and also like I do.
We will keep up the great work.
We should
Happy
do
camper.
Also another top. Yeah, thank you. But yeah, also I do want to address something about what do you call it, in the world, like the world of conspiracy theories, especially in the Islamic world. There was an article that I did find that I'll actually, in my next video, I told Nick we're gonna review this because we want to address the so-called Jewish conspiracy, or quote unquote, you know, the biggest conspiracy theories. There's the Freemasonic conspiracy theory. There's the big deep state. There's the Jewish.
Don't forget David Icke and the lizard people, man. Come on, we've got to cover the whole range.
Wait, who was it?
Oh, you must know David Icke with the whole, you know, reptilian kind of.
Oh yeah. We'll even cover the reptiles. Don't worry, we'll cover the reptiles too. That are making Islam or even Christianity to an extent look bad, because there's going to be some overlap there too. And,
David Icke is like the Alex Jones of Britain.
Yeah. You know what? You know, I'm going to hold my hands up, right? This is, I think it's my first public admission of this. I used to be, when I was a kid, majorly into David Icke. I mean, I'm going back to like the late 90s and stuff like that. I actually bought into all that lizard people shit. So,
really?
Yeah. I'm the last person to judge anyone for believing, because I bought into that for a while. So, yeah, shame on me.
And keep in mind, drastic. I used to believe that Freemasons were running the world. Like, I used to believe that until I actually got curious, and I actually joined the Freemasons as a result. And I was disappointed, very disappointed.
What? Because it was just like a social club or something?
It's a social club, pretty much. And yes, I think Ginny, you probably lost connection, Ginny. Welcome back.
Yeah, I didn't lose connection. I was thrown out.
Oh,
that was the lizard people. The lizard people did it, man.
Yeah, that's the lizard people. That's the lizard people.
The minute we talked about the lizard people. But by the way, you do know that the Bohemian Grove actually does exist, though. There is
that is true. Did you see the? This goes way back to like 2000 when Alex Jones actually. I know Alex Jones is a bit like fucking crazy, but he went down there, didn't he? He actually infiltrated the place. He filmed it, and they were doing all this weird devil worship stuff. So I mean, it's not like.
Yeah, they set fire to a human effigy as part of one of their ceremonies, and we're talking major presidents: Clinton, the Bushes. All of them have been to the Bohemian Grove, and there were staff who've taken photos of the proceeds and the.
Yeah, they're the big stone owl, didn't they? Like some 40-foot stone owls, like supposed to be Moloch or something, wasn't it?
Morlock, is it Morlock?
That was it. Yeah.
Oh, that's so weird. I've never heard of the Bohemian Grove, but man, this is something interesting.
Like, some of these, I mean, as much as you can, we can laugh at somebody like stranger aspects like the lizard people and stuff like that, I think you'd be naive to say that there aren't some weird things going on. And I mean, there certainly are conspiracies of powerful people. I mean, it wouldn't be the real world if it wasn't. I mean, conspiracies go back to ancient Rome. I mean, in terms of, Julius Caesar was killed by conspiracy. So, I mean, but yeah, it's when you get these overarching conspiracies where it's talking about like fourth dimensional lizard people and stuff like that, then yeah, obviously you're going off the deep end. But yeah, I mean, things like Bohemian Grove are real. In terms of, yes, you do get all these rich and powerful people go out into the woods and do all this crazy like faux demon worship and shit. It does go on,
and there's also like some weird, what do you call it? Some people have this idea of like some weird like groups that do rituals. Like there's a weird niche for it, and it's and it's not just one group. There's like several groups too. So it's not just one unifying.
Oh yeah,
so
there's the Bilderberg groups, of course, the World Economic Forum. No, the thing is, the way I see it is, I don't see it as some supernatural alien, out of the world stuff. This is just the rich and the powerful, those who are influential in the world, get together and they say, okay, how do we carry on being the rich and the powerful? That's not slightly out of the realms of normal, kooky kind of thing, because the rich and the powerful like to stay rich and powerful, so they'll just keep figuring out.
The World Economic Forums is a bunch of those that also attend. There are a bunch of edgelords as well.
Yeah, and
I'm not joking. They are trying to stir up things with
really
yes, with hair rising titles on their seminars and such, just to get publicity. Yes, that is why they got the title "You Will Own Nothing and Be Happy" for their title, for example, for one of their seminars. And the entire thing was about the fact that we are going to rent things more in the future rather than own things.
Yeah, but the thing is, the rich already kind of do that. You see, this is the weird thing, which people don't seem to realize. Once you get up to a certain level of wealth, you create corporations, and your corporation owns everything. You don't really directly own a lot of things. A lot of things you have access to. Like, I want to use this Ferrari. My corporation owns the Ferrari, but I have access to this Ferrari. If I want to go on that yacht, my corporation buys the yacht, but I have access to that yacht, because corporations get so much tax benefits over so many things. I've started to realize this because my brother, he's a very successful lawyer, and he has a corporation, and the things he can get through the corporation, the loans and the various things that he can get through a corporation, the banks they legally cannot even give to a private citizen.
Yes,
only corporations get these things. So in that way, the rich kind of never buy anything. They own nothing, but they have everything.
I remember I know this is going off the Islam topic, but it is kind of interesting. I just wanted to follow up on what Banksy was saying. I remember seeing some documentary about 10 years ago or something, and they were talking about the financial and legal district in the city of London, and it's like the most valuable piece of property in the whole country. And it's been owned by 4 families for, I think it runs into centuries now. And it is kind of like what Banksy's saying. I mean, you don't really have to think of it as any kind of conspiracy. It's just basically the idea that we will hold on to the title deeds of everything. And therefore, everyone else is going to rent their life around us. And they were even interviewing like the descendants of these families and saying, yeah, the one rule we were told, never sell up, retain ownership, and you will never really have to work. So yeah, you don't have to believe in some overarching conspiracy just to know that if you're rich and powerful, you're going to want to hold on to that shit. So
you're gonna want to hold on to your wealth as much as possible.
And they don't measure this stuff in their own lifetime. They measure it over generations. This is why they keep using this phrase "generational wealth."
That's exactly it.
He's just posted it as well.
Yeah,
they don't think about, I'm just going to be rich, like a lot of sports stars. If you notice, most sports stars, they're paupers by the time they die, because they just blow it all. They don't really think in that generational wealth. Whilst these bankers, car moguls, oil well owners, all of these people like Richard Kiyosaki, for example, who's wrote some fantastic books on wealth. He talks about, I want my children's children to be multimillionaires. I'm looking at my great grandchildren being multimillionaires, not just myself. And that's how these guys think.
Well, I mean, we do have dynasties, don't we? Whether they're political dynasties, whether they're corporate dynasties, people in legal professions, stuff like that. But,
yeah.
And it goes back like 10, 15. But it'll go back like 20 generations, and you'll see the same names. And again, you don't need to think of it in a conspiracy.
I could mention things from personal life, but it would be too personal here.
Yeah, though there have been some families that did end up losing their wealth.
Some, of course.
Circumstances, like for example, there were some Jewish families who did lose their wealth in Nazi Germany.
Of course, yeah.
And also, like, I think some Indian princes did lose their wealth because, like, they still had some money, but they lost most of their holdings because of, like, partition, like the India-Pakistan partition, because the Pakistani Indian government took over their, land, and vice versa. That is, like, it depends on, like, what location you are. So it also, some families were able to retain it, other families lost it. So it's kind of like it's a weird cycle. Yeah, it's a weird, complex cycle.
I have to say though, this is probably something more that Banksy would do on his channel. Banksy, I'd love to come on your channel at some point and have this conversation, because I do find it really.
You know, you're more than welcome anytime, mate. Any day, anytime. Nice. Just tell me when and when.
Oh, lovely. Yeah. And Moose, I was just gonna. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to ask, were we going to touch on the whole scientific miracle debacle tonight?
Yes. We do have some time. So I don't mind going a little over time either. So it was your Drastic did a video on like this expose of Muhammad. No, not Ali Dawah.
No, it was Ali Dawah. It was Ali Dawah, yeah. So it's my one claim to fame in the kind of Dawah critique world. Well, I say world, obviously.
Okay,
YouTube.
Is it called Muslim Apologist? More Shocking Claims About Islam? Is that the one?
No. That was, I think that was like my third video in the series, because Ali Dawah's just like lost his mind now. He just like keeps saying more and more crazy shit. I think it doesn't matter about the initial video, but I mean, it's basically Ali Dawah admitting after all these years that yes, the entire claim of the scientific miracles in the Quran was complete nonsense. And they knew it was complete nonsense pretty much the whole time, you know, from the first time the atheists and Christians and everyone else was debunking it. And they carried on with this lie just as a way to try to get naive people to join Islam. And Ali Dawah even admitted that's how he joined. And so, I mean, just to plug myself a little bit, I made like the first video response, and then Apostate Prophet picked up on it, and I got a little bit of exposure for it. But
shout out.
And also,
thank you. The funny thing was, it was pure chance as well, because I was halfway through like a month's break where I wasn't going to do any new videos, and I just happened to catch it, and I thought, hang on a minute, he's chatting on about Andrew Tate with some reaction video he's doing to Andrew Tate. It's like, how comes everyone's missed this? The guy has just said that, like, we were lying all this time. I was brought into the religion based on this lie, and that's it. You know, it's been debunked.
Is that video titled? 1 second, let me just show you the list I just brought up. It's a list of videos that I see. Is it Ali Dawah says he joined Islam for nonsense reason? But
that was my original video.
So this one. You got
that's a very short video. It's only a couple. It's like two, 3
react.
minutes.
Do you want to react to this?
No. It's not. I don't want to be that egotistical. Make it about me. It's already been on AP's. He's promoted it, so it's fine. I mean, anyone who wants to go watch the video can do so. But I think it's people are well aware of the the fallout from it. But what I wanted to say on this though is quite fascinating. Is that last night I was doing a video review with Rob, previous host of Gin and Tonic Show, on his channel, and we were reviewing one of the Speaker's Corner Dawah crowd that are still using the exact same lies that Ali Dawah has basically said, yeah, we know it's nonsense. And the point is, it's like, yeah, if they are going to debate with someone or have a conversation with someone who actually knows some stuff about the Quran, they'll shy away from it for the most part. But any person who doesn't know, like Dawah apologetics, they're still using these lies with them.
Yes.
So it just shows the kind of low character that they've got, that they'll still keep that like card in their back pocket to try and manipulate naive people, which I just think is amazing.
It's not necessarily that they're what happens is there's a particular sort of time scale from a time when a particular thing is debunked until all the Muslim supposed Dawah apologists or Dawah guys start to move away from it. So it has to filter through. For example, Hatun Tash disproved the whole myth of a single Quran almost like 5 years ago now. I think it's even longer than 5 years ago, but as far as the time I started going to Speaker's Corner, which was 2018, she was bringing up like 30 different Qurans with different words in these different Qurans. So this concept of there's only one Quran was debunked 5 years ago. It is only taken it's only taken up to like I think the last year or so where they stopped finally. And I still can take you. There's a guy called Uncle Usman. He will still tell you to this day there is only one Quran and not a single word and a single ayah has ever been changed. He still believes it, even though I can categorically prove to him that this is a lie. There is no one Quran. There are other Qurans with different words.
Banksy, he's not the only one though. You see a lot of those Speaker's Corner apologists like Mansour and all that, they're still repeating that crap.
There you go. So it takes a while for them to finally, because now I've come if you listen to people like Ali Dawah or Muhammad Hijab and a few others, few of the more up-to-date kind of apologists, they have now moved away from not a single word has changed to more like the meaning of each Quran is exactly the same. You know what I mean? They're rewording themselves now.
Yeah.
Fareed did something like that. Fareed did something like that too, I remember.
Yes.
I think Stops and myself were, and the holes in the narrative when Yasir Qadi actually said the
it's another great example. But I mean, and to praise the Gin and Tonic show, the first video that I can remember watching on debunking scientific miracles in the Quran was when Nadir Ahmed came on this channel, and that was in 2012. So we're talking 11 years ago.
Yes.
This shit was already debunked, and it's taken 11 years for a public acknowledgement from a prominent Dawah apologist to just say, yeah, we were just fucking lying the whole time. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. That's the worst thing, though. It's kind of like he's like almost celebrating the fact that he was conned into joining the religion. And he even says in that video, it's kind of like, right, when I found out it was a lie, did I leave the religion? No, I didn't. I was stronger in faith, in that high-pitched shit fucking voice he does. And I just think, well, that just shows how dishonest you are. Like, even when you've had the exposure of the very con job that got you into religion, you're still...
I am the true believer in the sunken cost fallacy.
Oh yeah, the sunken cost fallacy. Yes. Oh dear. And I don't know, man. Like, it could just be like the fear of leaving, because once you leave, I think one of the sheikhs said you go like, slash the neck and stuff. And it's like,
Well, yeah. I mean, that was pointed out. It's kind of like maybe if you didn't have this whole killing apostates things, then maybe you would have had the balls to leave. But
it's not even that. For someone like Ali Dawah, that is his entire. It's not even that. For someone like Ali Dawah, that's his entire grift. His entire livelihood depends on Islam.
Yes,
there's no
100%.
way he's gonna give that grift up. The Salam, this sort of charity association that he was associated with, which I think they've changed it now. It was estimated that he was bringing in something like £20 million a year.
Wow.
Oh mate, I mean, I've done several videos on this whole grift, and there's that Norwegian based mosque, which every single video of Ali Dawah, Mohammed Hijab, Smile to Jannah, a bunch of other, they're all promoting it. They're all getting money from it. It's funding their trips abroad. it is, as Banksy said, it is just one big grift for these top tier Dawah people who've got like hundreds of thousands of subscribers. Yeah, they'll never give it up. They could all be atheists and they'd still keep doing it.
Of course, it's just. I mean, I'll be perfectly honest with you, gentlemen. I see a lot of intelligent people on this panel. I see a lot of intelligent people in the atheist sort of debunking Islam community, and the only disappointment that I have is that we haven't managed to come up with a religion that could make us that much money. Even Hubbard made Scientology. Why are we still poor and doing 9-to-5 jobs?
Yeah, you know it. I mean, but this is a funny thing though. As I say, like I keep getting accused of like, oh, you're just like critiquing Islam for the money. It's like, believe me, I know the system. If I really wanted to grift it, I could, and I could give up my job. You know, so you know, it's crazy.
Yeah. So if anyone, like, I know it's the last 6 minutes, but if anyone wants to, like, it's brief because I want to keep it a bit brief. Wants to join, they're more than welcome. So yeah, Wiso also had a point on what do you call it, scientific miracles being a complete contradiction, because how is it a miracle if it's scientific? Like, definition speaking.
Well,
like, how is it? From
well, no, it is an oxymoron. I know, like what Wiso is kind of saying, but it's more that it's a miracle that he knew this so-called scientific knowledge. I think that's probably a better way of phrasing it.
Yeah, because I think they copied the idea from older Christian apologists, because they had the list of biblical scientific miracles or something like that.
All Dawah apologism is just ripped off from the Christians.
Yeah.
I mean, all of it. There's nothing new.
Oh my goodness, I kid you not. They've been reusing. What's that classic apologetics? It's that bet thing. What's that called? Oh crap! Like, oh, you're if you
Pascal's wager. Pascal's wager.
Yes. There's that. Pascal's wager has been used. There's the Adam and Steve one that's been used.
Also, yeah, they use all the English, all the Christian. Sorry, apologize. The what do you call it? The watchmaker argument. The ontological argument, the Goldilocks argument,
and then the Kalam was adopted too. The Kalam argument was adopted.
Yeah,
also, I do want to address this question too. What do you guys think of Daniel Hakikachu? Is he destroying Islam from the inside?
Well, it's funny actually. I'll quickly answer this because I did a video on him fairly recently. I did pose that question because I thought in the last video he was basically saying that you can have an arranged marriage with a fetus. So this is not you can marry the unborn. This is how low this guy's gone. And I did pose a question in the video. I said, like, is he actually just like a grifter who is saying the most deliberately provocative thing?
I don't even think that this is Islamically okay in any of the madhabs.
That is Islamically acceptable. What are you talking about?
No, yeah. I mean you actually no.
Yes. So actually, so this would be like a classic scenario of a Muslim going against Daniel's claim, right? Like, but all I would have to do is find Islamic scholars that say that it is allowed, right? And then the onus would be on you, stop, son, to disprove it. Now, you would actually have a harder time at that point.
It actually, several hadiths says that you either have to have, you have to have both the permission of the daughter and of the father, or at least have the daughter present.
Actually,
in the discussions.
When you're talking,
the father.
You're allowed to. So what you're allowed to do is it's not the father; it's the guardian. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, but
if I may, I'll counter your claim with something very simple. I can arrange a marriage like Aisha had an arranged marriage, and then before she was going to marry Muhammad, and then they called it off because Muhammad wanted to marry Aisha. Aisha was only 6 and they already had an arranged marriage.
Yes.
So that
But arranged marriages aren't, there are several points here. It isn't the same thing as arranged and forced are two different things. And also, when it comes to these matters,
The argument
even in those that
wasn't
allow
about
divorce,
forced; it was about arranged.
yes.
You're
But
on.
listen, you do not let me finish. Sorry.
No,
Okay.
because you're deviating from the original concept. The
No.
conversation
Why
was
so?
about.
Why so? Let him speak. Let him finish, and then you can respond. Okay.
The thing is that you'd still need, even if in those traditions where you are allowed to force, a marriage, because there are some traditions in certain Maliki schools and Hanbali schools. I know this because this goes together for the rights of inheritance and previous obligations of marriage with regards to land usage rights. This has kind of been my field. Even in those traditions, you have to have a daughter before you can promise this. So you can't promise it before it's born.
Oh, right. That's what you're saying. Like you have to have a daughter. Okay,
No.
okay, that's your point.
No.
Yeah.
No. That's like. So you're making an argument. Firstly, you backtracked on the original argument. Your position was that you can't do it at all. And then I mentioned that there was an arranged marriage for Aisha.
Yes, but that was different. She was already born.
You got mad when you don't have evidence for that. There's no evidence that they did that after she was born.
Wait, what's the point then?
You are just but there is no evidence either, because this marriage was arranged when she wasn't born.
Dude, that's
and
the
also,
reason.
in addition to that, there are several hadiths, several judicial traditions of ijma that actually says that you have to have, the girl existing before you can offer her.
So.
Well, I mean, technically, she does exist if she's, in the womb.
I would challenge you to bring that evidence, because, the Master Arab has covered this, and he's what I would deem a reliable source, if nothing else, and we can link the video. That's an easy source to do, right? Like, that's an easy one that we could just be like, Master Arab child marriage, and the video will pop up.
Yeah, but I'm not arguing against child marriage.
You get upset, and I get told to be quiet when I interrupt you, and you're getting to interrupt me, and constantly without being told to be quiet.
Because you're actually, changing the subject matter.
No,
you're jumping.
I'm not the one who changed it.
No, Jenny, let him speak, and also, Waiso, calm down. Just say your thing.
Dude, I worked 26 hours and 36 hours, dude. I'm not gonna be 100% like, but anyway. So originally it was about you can't do it, period, and then it changed to a conversation of that it's not allowed, and that there's hadiths about it. Don't see any hadiths being shared on screen, so I don't accept that. If a Muslim came to me and was making claims that there's hadiths that support it, then I would ask for those hadiths. I know that I have come across various rulings, at least in the Shafi school, that do allow that. It doesn't matter about the child being conceived even. It's just like a promise. And then when you mention Aisha, because I mentioned Aisha originally and mentioned that she was promised off, you try to say, oh, well, she was already born. No evidence for that. And there's a reason that there would be a ruling to say, if there's no evidence for it, that she was already born, but there was evidence that she was promised off, then Islamically, there could be a ruling that it's allowed when they're a child, but it's negotiable or able to be taken away by the guardian, not the father. It doesn't have to be a cousin, doesn't have to be an uncle. It has to be a legitimate guardian.
Why? So I'll interject here a bit. You state that the Daniel Hakukachu is correct when it comes to the fetus. That's the point you're making, right?
No, I never stated that. What I said was, what I would say with this is that Daniel Hakukachu has an opinion that is supported inside of at least one school of Islam. Now, not out of the 4 main madhabs, 5 if you want to consider Jafri, that would be 2 of them, because the Jafri school, which is also Shia, so most Muslims wouldn't consider that a real school, but like they do accept it. So
no, in the Jafri school they don't accept
real quick,
it.
Yes, they do.
Because in the I've actually looked in Ayatollah Sistani's ruling status. Ayatollah Sistani's ruling, the fact that sure the daughter has to exist, and also like there is a minimum age of more penetration. There's a 9 lunar years. There is that ruling for sure.
No. You didn't. We weren't talking about penetration. We were talking about marriage. So
but like
you went from one
is...
dynamic. Real quick, you went from one dynamic of the conversation to a completely different. So that's not equivocal. If, like I said, just look at the. Do you consider the mask Arab a viable source?
I'm not denying that, but like we're trying. The focus of the issue is the fetus. That is the fetus eligible for marriage?
I don't think that it has to be a fetus. I think that you can promise off a marriage in Islam to an even inconceived child. I don't know of any ruling that I've come across, and this was what I was getting with earlier. Shafi'i is the easiest ruling to read in a translation, right? Because it's in English. Maliki, various parts have been transferred over into English, but not all of his rulings. And same thing with the other 2 schools. So that's up to debate.
Well, wouldn't that bring up a lot of issues? Again, looking at it from an Islamic, quote unquote, lawmaker perspective, right? Looking at it from that perspective, wouldn't that create a lot of issues in terms of, the daughter, like even if it's not born, what if there's no daughter even born to begin with? And also, like you also have the issue of like if it's in a fetus, like how do you figure out if it's a girl or a guy? So there's those issues that do arise.
That's only an issue. That's only an issue for that particular child, as opposed to an issue of siring future children. You get what I mean?
I mean, sorry, I was just going to quickly interject here. Just to go back to the original thing of what Daniel was saying. He did make it clear that he wasn't advocating for any kind of sexual activity with the fetus. So it was more about the marriage side. So, thank God he didn't go that low that he said, it'd be okay to have sex with the fetus. But
how the fuck is that going to even happen?
Well, but bearing in mind that he said in that debate with that Christian guy that the only thing that matters is once puberty is started. I remember the Christian guy he was debating said, well, you can have an early onset puberty. It can be as low as, I can't remember exactly, but it was something like, I think it was potentially below the age of 1. And Daniel did not say he would be against any kind of sexual relationship.
I will say that I feel like a couple of times so far I've tried to stick to the original argument position, and that the 2 interlocutors I had changed it in certain ways. One of those ways was just addressed by, and they both did it, which was talk about sexual interactions, when that wasn't the concept about marriage.
I'm backing you up on that. Why? So yeah, it was specifically about marriage. It wasn't about like sexual contact or anything like that. Just to quickly go back to what Dee was saying though as well, like when she's talking about, is he trying to destroy it from the inside? I don't know, but it seems like, but he has got this whole company where he is promoting like his version of Islam. And it again, like Banksy would say, it's financially driven now. Even whether he believes it or not isn't even the real issue. He's making bank from this, and so it doesn't even matter whether he believes it or not.
Someone actually, I think whether it was a video I came across or someone was talking on a live show, I forgot exactly, but someone mentioned exactly that if you go back to some of Daniel Hikikaju's earlier videos, like his first sort of bunch of videos, he was much more level-headed. He came across as much more sort of middle of the road, kind of almost like a sort of modern, sort of sensible Western style Muslim.
I think his name was Muslim Skeptic when he was called Muslim Skeptic.
That's right, yeah. But he found, as he said, more and more outrageous things, his viewership, his subscriber count seemed to go up. He's got so much more positive feedback from
I would
the
disagree with
stuff.
that. I think that he studied more and more. You got to think this guy, no matter what we want to say about him, he has a degree in physics from Yale. So he's a learned person. He probably spent a good percentage of his life learning things outside of Islam and just learned like the basics of what he considered fundamental facts for his faith. And now that he's probably learned Arabic, he speaks Arabic, even like the basics that he does say, rather well. So I don't
know, because
I'm
I think
thinking that the more he's studied, the more he's noticed these arguments, and that his following, starts looking up.
I'm not so sure on that, why so, man. I'm not, and the reason I would say this, one good example is that he constantly goes on about the idea that women should have no education, essentially, or it's so.
What is his argument?
Hang on. Just let me finish the thought. Just let me finish the thought.
It's just an example Drastic is giving. Just an example. Yeah, Drastic.
Yeah. Just give me 30 seconds. Give me 30 seconds, why so, and then I'll mute myself. He's been like putting out that narrative of like women just shouldn't be educated, staying home, etc. His own wife is also Harvard educated and is part of his business. So there's clearly a disconnect between what he is preaching and what he is doing in his personal life for his own financial benefit. So I would agree with Banksy. There definitely seems to be a grift element. I'm not saying that what you're saying is not true as well. He might have this new a view on Islam based on the studies done, but I can't deny that there's a lot of disconnects between what he says and what's going on in his personal life, and I would say that's financially motivated.
I mean, the other element to this.
But for one, you can't say that he came across his wife.
Hold on, a particular
who was already.
Usually, you have a tendency to change.
No, listen. So I'm gonna point out what I think are flaws in that position, for one, and then we'll adjust if you think that I'm making illegitimate positions. So his wife being educated, if he didn't meet her until after she was educated or already started educating, and that he didn't know from reading various Islamic points for his current argument, then that's not a flaw, correct?
No, I wouldn't say that. I would say because if he was really consistent with his position, he wouldn't have his wife as part of his business. He would say, you now become a housewife, fuck your education, doesn't matter. You stay in the home.
But that's also Islamic too, because Khadijah was a businesswoman that Muhammad worked for.
Oh yeah. No, I'm talking about the position that he's adopted, that he is spreading widely.
I'm getting to that. So from his position, she was already educated. He met her. She's going through education. He's not as well learned. And then he accepts it. And then they have a business together. Khadijah and Muhammad had a business together. This is completely Islamic. Do you follow yet?
Oh yeah. No, I do. Okay. But I'm just saying. I'm talking about the way that he is.
Yet. Just agree if you're following, so that I can
like. Why so? State your point. Kind of hurry up.
So then he starts reading more and more. He learns possibly Arabic. It sounds like he has, and he learns more and more. and he realizes that the Quran only has a very few specifics for women's education. And it's reading and writing, it says nothing about arithmetic. It says that they have to be able to remember, not even write down contracts in Surah 4. It says that when they are able to be consummated, that they have to pass some random test of their faculties. And at the time of Islam, when it came, all those faculties were taking care of the house, according to the Quran, being literate, and bearing children, to consummate. But marriage was up for debate until Muhammad come with a hadith that is like, even those who have not menstruated yet, and those are those who have not reached the age. So with that in place, and I probably could go on a little bit more about defending his position from like his worldview. Like, I don't think that your position against him is legitimate against his worldview as far as he's allegedly studied. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I know what you're saying, and the way I'd respond is I'm not going specifically into different Islamic interpretations of whether he is right or wrong. As I say, I mean, even the whole fetus thing, I wasn't taking a position on whether he was right or wrong. I was highlighting how crazy I think what he is saying is. But the point I'm trying to make is
crazy.
Hang on.
Why so let him speak?
Just 1 second. The point I'm trying to make is that he has spent at least the last 2-3 years that I know of massively underplaying the idea of any kind of education for women. I mean, he's done videos where he's like doing mocking crying of Afghani women who are now getting pushed out of education, saying, "Oh my God, it's so terrible. I can't go to school and be like Western women." So he's made it clear his complete hatred of the idea of women having any kind of education. Now, whether that is Islamically backed up or not is not the point I'm making. I'm saying he's adopted that position, yet he's got his own wife who is Harvard educated as an intricate part of his business. Those two things are contradictory.
I addressed it. No, I addressed it.
No, I know.
It doesn't matter about Khadijah. It doesn't matter about Khadijah being educated.
No, it does though in his mind.
No.
So
maybe in his mind. Maybe in his mind.
It also anybody with an Islamic knowledge that is being impartial can see theologically that it does matter. Like if you're being impartial and you're saying, well, Muhammad did marry a woman that was educated. She knew how to read and write, arithmetic, could run a business. Then he came across her when she was already with that capability. So if he came across his wife when she already had that capability, there's no Islamic concept that you can bring up that negates that he met her that way.
But did Muhammad use Khadijah's business knowledge in his day-to-day dealings? Was she some major part of him building his caliphate? No, she wasn't. Not that I can see many did.
Actually, she kind of was.
In terms of her business knowledge, her education.
Not the business knowledge, but the wealth was useful in the sense that
and
the wealth
and the slaves.
Yeah, because it was, at least in the start of it gave his career a sort of like a push start,
It gave it a sense of
in the beginning, I would agree. In the beginning, I would agree.
It gave it a sense of legitimacy.
And but as he went along,
if you look at it, the founding members of Muhammad's faith were Khadijah's slaves that she gave to Muhammad, and that when they became Muslim, he freed them.
Yeah, but the key word you use there is founding. We're not talking about the continuation of the religion. But they
became companions. They became Sahaba, which means that they became like even hadith supporting, and even I want to say that there's at least one former slave that Muhammad had that is in the 14 Kirat. You know what I'm saying? Like, so
yeah. I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying.
and
Can,
and
can,
even
can I just
Bilal,
quickly say, is there any
Anyway.
chance that we could get?
Anyway, why
Bilal
so?
created the Adon. Bilal
Is there any?
created the
Why
Adon.
so? Why so?
Can I just quickly
Drastic,
ask?
you
Is there any
want it.
chance we could get D on the panel? Because like it's always a sausage fest on Gin and Tonic Show. We so rarely have women's point of view.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that
I
like
will-
from a woke, and it's not just
I-
because she said she agrees with me. I promise
hey,
that's not the reason I'm saying it.
Drastic. You've already admitted to me. You're a left-leaning woke-ass liberal. You've already admitted that.
Dude, the more people on panel is always better. That's just,
Yeah.
Well,
you know what
I'm
saying?
just saying, particularly when it comes to issues of Islam, I think men and women's experience are genuinely very different. So, I'd in that sense, I'm not trying to be woke, but I think there's a legitimate value to having a woman's voice on a panel like this.
Absolutely.
Separate issue.
I will try, and again, I know it's also like a safety issue as well too, because for a lot of I've tried to reach out to some ex-Muslim women as well. It's also a safety issue as well, so we have to be a bit careful on that as well. So
by the way, and D, sorry, I'm not sorry. I know that sounds probably like I'm putting a lot of pressure on you. It's just you seem to be the only woman in the chat at the moment, but obviously, and any woman who's got like an opinion would be good to have on the panel. But it's just D's being active, so. Yeah, I'm just sorry. A bit of a side issue, so I'll mute myself.
Yeah, but anyway, enough with psychoanalyzing Pikachu, because I think we're past the.
May I say something about the miracle concept real quick that I was like in the chat talking about?
You can just wrap it up. Make it quick. The scientific miracle thing, right? Yeah, I think your point.
So, what's the definition of a scientific miracle?
That's the thing. How do we define that?
So I believe it was Drastic who said that most of them say something that how could he know was scientifically true at that time. Was it you, Drastic? That was like that's the Islamic
I can repeat if you want, just to clarify. Yeah, I said when I think most of the time when they're talking about scientific miracles, they're talking in terms of it was a miracle that he had supposedly this knowledge, which like only science has now discovered. I think that tends to be the way they say it. Not all
narrative,
of them.
Yeah.
So
that's the narrative, yeah.
So here's a counter argument to that. Einstein predicted gravitational waves, and it took 100 years, and for us to scientifically prove it. And he's credited essentially as being a pantheist. You know, I know about God like a fish knows that he's in a bowl of water. Essentially, was his quote. So, if that's the standard, then that means that Einstein was a prophet for a pantheistic view.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. Yeah, that does follow. That's the logical.
I hope that summarized. I have a lot more to say about that. I hope that summarized my argument.
Oh yeah.
No, I would agree with that. Why? So I think it does seem to logically follow that you would have to say that. Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah, but anyway, we're past the 20 plus minute now. It's 22 minutes. We can wrap it up. Final words. I think Culture Ginny, you've been quiet for a while, so you can actually what do you call it? Any closing statements that you would like to make?
Well, like everything else with Islam, the issues with immigrations, these debates about if you can promise an unborn child away in marriage or not, and the consequences of this, where I will still hold that you can't, or like much things in this world, complicated.
Complicated. Oh, I love the word complicated. Why so? Do you have any closing statement?
Islam is split up into essentially 5 major schools. They agree, even with the fifth one, the Shias, on about 80 to 85% of general Islamic rulings. And when they do separate, they try to give hadiths that they either accept as Sahi or Mutawir or Hassan that support various concepts in Islam. So it is always going to be, because Islam is set up as such, a pick what you want from one concept and then pass off the others. So while Culture Gen might be true by 3 schools saying something, 2 other schools might say different. And yeah, appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, and, no problem. And Banksy, Banksy Style, your closing statements.
Thank you, gentlemen, for a wonderful show. As always, everyone, please hit that like button on your way out. And I will be at Speaker's Corner tomorrow. So, well, I mean, I'm planning on it. So, weather and everything.
Please don't get stabbed. So please don't get stabbed, Banksy. Please don't get stabbed.
We'll try to avoid being stabbed or punched and kicked. That's usually the plan. So thank you for the kind words. But yeah, I mean, everyone is of course welcome. But Drastic, hit me up in the DMs if you want to set up a time and day for us to have a chat and a stream. And yeah, keep up the good work, guys. Don't lose heart. I know the algorithm may not be working for us, but this message and these kind of conversations have to take place, because as people have said it a long time ago on the internet is where religion comes to die. Thank you.
Yes. And Drastic, your closing statement.
Yeah, I just want to say this was a really great show. I had a lot of fun talking to you guys, and it was really good to have Banksy on and Why So. I apologize if I've got a little bit harsher with my language as I've gone on, because for the first time I'm actually having a few glasses of wine, so I apologize if the alcohol is I don't normally drink when I'm doing a stream because it's like a recipe for disaster. But yeah, I apologize if I've gotten a little bit harsher with my tone. But yeah, I've really enjoyed this, and Banksy, definitely good luck at Speaker's Corner tomorrow. Definitely we'll do that live stream. And welcome back, Moose. It's really great to have you here. It's great to be having a live gin and tonic for the first time in a month and a half. And
a month and a half,
yeah, and I'm doing a live stream tomorrow at 5 p.m. UK time, talking about Sharia and human rights. If anyone wants to come along, have a chat, then you're all more than welcome. And yeah, thanks for having me on.
No problem. Thank you so much, Drastic.
Don't forget the after chat in the Discord server after this episode.
Yes.
Oh yeah, somebody asked to put the link in. Did you put the link in?
I posted a link. I don't know if this is gonna work. If do you guys have I'm just like clicking the Discord that I'm already logged in, so I just clicked the link and just posted that. Is that the correct one, or do I click something else?
I'm not sure, but I imagine most people in the chat probably are aware of the server, so yeah. And let's try and get Dee on next time if she would like to, because that'd be great.
I think I have Dee on Facebook, so I can definitely reach out to Dee, and we'll see what we can do. We'll also try to get some the Saudi atheist as well. I would love to have him on, and we invited him to your live stream too. And definitely, please check out Drastic's live stream tomorrow, 5 p.m. UK time, and 12 p.m. Toronto Eastern time. So, and Ginny, thank you so much once again. Banksy, thank you so much. Waiso and Saudi Atheist, also thank you as always. Good night, everybody.
Thank you, gentlemen. Good night.